We also now gonna start into the panel discussion, where I gonna ask and try to facilitate all the questions from the audience to all three speakers who presented their companies today. As said, thank you very much. It was really nice, especially thank you very much to Orbital Machines and ESA Aerospace to being able to jump in so quickly. It was really nice. And now, so if you have any questions, please feel free to write them into the chat window. I already have seen some questions, and I just would like to start with the question which directly came from one speaker to another. Daniel, you asked, so Daniel from ESA Aerospace asked, what's the maximum delta P you get with the electric pump on a 100 kilonewton engine?
Yeah, good question. It's so we have not made those calculations ourselves, but I know it's a suborbital rocket that we're talking about. So it's reaching 100,000 kilometers, and with a payload of basically a space capsule with one person inside. And I'm not sure how many.
Yeah.
How much delta V that is.
Sorry, I didn't ask for delta V, but more delta P, like on the turbo pump itself. What's the pressure you can reach?
So on that specific engine, it is quite low in pressure because it's developed to be very reasonably priced, and the pressure there is 40 bar.
Okay.
But we can
use the same. You can use the same pump from between 30 kilonewton up to 100 kilonewton, or is it more like the same concept
design
of the pump?
Same design, them differently dimensioned.
Okay.
But the same parts going through the same manufacturing and testing stages, basically.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. Cool. So maybe, Eivind, you could also stop sharing your screen.
Sure.
Exactly. No problem. But again, thank you very much. It was really cool. So maybe back to the first presenter, Yuri. There was a question from the audience, which was, how do you approach clients with such a solution? I mean, most people, most scientists out there are not aware that they can send something up to space. Most people think, well, yeah, okay, we have the gravity which we have here on space, on ground. How do you market something like this?
Good question. That's my main job every day. And that's the question I ask myself from morning to evening. I think you have to differentiate the clients here. So there is obviously universities and researchers that have flown before, that are familiar with this whole space biology topic. Our closest partner / customer, I would say, is the University of Zurich, just in Zurich, like 2 hours from where we are. They have a space biology chair. I don't think many people are familiar with that. There are universities that have a space biology chair that are kind of focused on that topic. So those are, I would say, the low-hanging fruits, the experts that are there already. And there is companies that have flown already. We just had a meeting a few months ago with Adidas. They have launched 2 experiments already to the ISS. Very exciting. And they showed us through their future lab where they have all the fancy stuff for the new generations of shoes. And they do material research for the new shoe versions on the ISS right now, which is amazing. So of course we start with those, I would say, the early adopters that are somehow familiar with the topic. For all the new ones, there's different ways. Yeah, I think most of the biotech and pharma people we talk to, all they want to see is data and kind of proof. And that's kind of the chicken egg topic right now. So you cannot show them that there have been, thousands of experiments already validating this specific problem. You can just show them, okay, 3 missions were there. They showed kind of interesting signs, but for many, they need more data. So you kind of have to find, again, those innovative first players that take the first step and say, okay, I want to be the one who shows it. And there is one. So Merck has flown several times, big pharma companies. universities. Another client group for the midterm for us is new space agencies. Australia is one of those examples. So countries that just opened a space agency a year ago, and our pitch is, look, you have to prove your people that it was worth founding a space agency with taxpayers' money. So they have a pressure to succeed, or they have the pressure to show something quickly. And we tell them, look, we can bring you to the ISS in less than 6 months for about 100K. Let's do it. And that was kind of the one sentence pitch to Australia, I would say.
Yeah.
And we visited a lot of smaller countries as well. Yeah. So we went to the Philippines, Singapore, Ethiopia, Ghana. All of those countries have space agencies, New Zealand, and we are in discussions with all of them. And yeah.
So you traveled a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. We used to travel, yeah.
Yeah, you used to travel and probably will travel sooner or later again. But that's pretty cool. The next question surrounds a company which is not based in Europe, but in New Zealand as well as in the US. And it's a question it's Rocket Lab. And I have a question regarding Rocket Lab to each of the presenters today. So first, there was a question in the chat room. Yuri, do you plan to, for example, also launch with Rocket Lab?
I guess before we launched Rocket Lab, we launched with ESA, I hope, Daniel.
Good answer.
That's the spirit I like to hear.
Well, actually, we don't launch with Rocket Lab now, but we will launch with Dawn Aerospace, kind of a neighboring startup in New Zealand. And they have a cool concept of a hybrid plane rocket that can start at any airport, like an airplane, and then similar to Virgin Galactic, then starts the rocket engine once, I'm not sure, about 6,000, 8,000 meters, and then it can land again like a space shuttle, and they can launch 4 times a day. And they are the partners where we're gonna do our suborbital rideshare, where we fill 4 launches, trying to fill till end of the year. So no launch with Rocket Lab yet, but with their neighbors. And before we go with Rocket Lab, we try to fly with neighboring startups around the corner.
Cool. So Daniel, maybe a question to you. I mean, I know it myself. If you speak to investors, they come up with asking you, okay, how do you differentiate with this company, the first company they found on Google? And I'm sure if you Google currently small rocket labs comes up, and they already have launched successfully multiple times. So what's your answer? How do you differentiate yourself from Rocket Labs?
Actually, just based on the size of our rocket, we're targeting not a completely different customer segment, but it is different. So we're targeting more the larger payloads up to 1 ton. We brought on board last year with our financing round Airbus Ventures, who actually we signed a memorandum of understanding way before they actually got thinking about investing in our company. So I'd say from a customer point of view, we're a bit different. And afterwards, also on the performance side, we try to keep everything on the vehicle in general from a design point of view as simple as possible without any deductions on performance. So on the electric turbopump cycle, we actually also did a lot of calculations a few years back. In the end, especially for larger vehicles like ours, it just does not make any sense up to now, because the batteries are in that case the huge restriction, and actually not the battery capacity itself, but more that you have to completely use a full battery within about 2 minutes on the first stage ascent, or 2.5 minutes maybe. And that is extremely harsh on the batteries, whereas this is also what we saw with Rocket Lab afterwards. They had to go into dropping batteries that were empty into the sea, which is also from an environmental point of view not the nicest thing to do.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So orbital machines, also from the chat, someone said Rocket Labs also use electric turbopumps, and that's true. what would you say? So you're, I think, also aiming at a similar target, right? Why would you say that? Can you say something about the differences between Rocket Lab's turbo pump and yours?
Yeah, so the huge difference is that Rocket Lab has developed their technology for internal use, and we are aiming to be a supplier. And we imagine that that is important because there are so many projects right now who are all solving the same problems independently, and we want to solve them once and supply that solution to everyone.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, from an outsider's perspective, and I'm an outsider definitely when it comes to the launch market, I am always astonished about the just sheer number of small rockets or small launchers out there. It's incredible if you really look at the numbers. And of course, for you, it's pretty good that there are so many companies out there. But just from my expectation, probably the number will also go down. So in Europe, of course, you mentioned PLD, which I also met a few years back at the first Space Tech Expo in Bremen. Then there are a few players in Europe. You also had a slide in your presentation which talked about the market study. So what do you think, how many companies are out there which maybe could buy your solution?
So the companies that are arriving now, they have, of course, the drawback that they are not, they have competition already. There is small launch vehicles, reasonably priced small launch vehicles in the market already. And that just means that they need to be even more affordable. And they can do that because they have this second mover advantage where they can do things like acquire turbo pumps from us, for example, at a much lower price and lower risk than if they are to develop it themselves. So I see our job as enabling that second wave or third wave of small launch vehicle startups to achieve those cost reductions that they need to do in order to be competitive.
It's really interesting because I heard a very similar answer from someone else who is working on producing engines for small launch vehicles. Black Arrow, also based out of Germany, and they I think they are also somehow related with the DLR. So it's really interesting to see first really a few early companies which started to build their own small launch vehicles, and now you have more companies, and now you really see this suppliers, the tier ones, so to say, for these small launch vehicles. Really cool. Just one question: why Berlin? Why? And maybe tell us a little bit about the Motion Lab.
Yeah. So I have been living in Berlin for many years, actually, from 2010 until around 2016. And then I initially moved to Trondheim to work with the university there to get this project up and running. And now we are basically back. So it's kind of just logistics and pragmatic things. But I just think I love Berlin, and I really like the Motion Lab. And we have access to machines there which we can use to do very quick prototyping, and there's no big plan behind it except for those things.
And in the Motion Lab, for all the ones which haven't been there, so as said, there's machinery which you can use if you want to build your own hardware products. So it's really great for doing stuff like this, and not only a plastic 3D printer, but definitely mills and all, everything. And you can have your own garage like Orbital machines. So that's pretty cool if you want to build your own hardware. So Yuri, you said you want to start an R&D center, so why not at the Motion Lab in Berlin?
Let's see.
Yeah. Okay, but can you tell us a little bit about your because you teased so many very interesting things, from the COVID-19 test on the ISS to a funding round to a potential R&D center. so many interesting things, and I'm super thrilled about on-orbit production, because I really think that's the game changer. If we find something which is more valuable to produce in space, that's really that's the inflection point when we really see a space economy evolving, and not only downward sending data or stuff like this. So that's pretty amazing. Can you tell us something about maybe the fundraising process? Do you have any funny stories from investors, or if you don't want to share anything about this, so what are really the things you want to do in-house from an R&D perspective, and where do you say, well, that's not something we want to focus on, it's something which our customers should do in-house?
We always try to cleverly position ourselves in the value chain, I would say. And in our current market, you basically have 3 platform levels. So you have the microgravity platform level, which is the ISS, which is the capsule, which is a parabolic flight. The second level would be the facility on those platforms. On the ISS, we have a number of so-called biofacilities. This is an incubator, so a kind of box that keeps the temperature, that has some data transmission, and some electronic interface. And then the third level would be the actual hardware mini lab, so the little experiment unit where you run your experiment. And obviously, we won't build a second ISS, and we also won't be yet another facility on the ISS. So that's why our position we took in the current market to be the face to the customer, knowing what he wants and offering him the full end-to-end service by offering a portfolio of experiment units. Now, in the next evolution step of the market, we take a similar approach. So everyone is now racing towards building their own free flyers. That is building their own capsules that fly in orbit for manufacturing, for whatever, with all the extreme investment and risks, of course, that a free flyer comes with. And in our case, we need a free flyer that is reusable. So we always need our stuff back. We cannot just let it burn. So again, here we decided to position ourselves as the facility, because so far there's no one working on if you look at those 3 levels I just explained. In the new markets where there might be no ISS anymore, people are now building the ISS successors, and we're building the facility and experiment units. So we build on what we already have, the experiment units, and we build a facility, a one-size facility that fits on all those platforms, because then we're totally flexible, and we can even have a negotiation power on the free flyers, because now there's many of them coming up, and all of them are looking for customers. And that's my impression from old space. It's very, very engineering driven, what they can do, and it's very they can tell you, all the details about the free fly and all the technology, but once you ask, oh cool, and who's going to fly with it, or who's the customer, or who's the need, oh yeah, we'll find people, we talked to some and they were very excited about our technology, but that they cannot tell you. And if you talk to most of them on all the conferences, like the Lockheed Martins, the Airbuses, and all the kind of old space guys, they struggle to really know the end customer need and build something they actually want, and not just something they're used to in their cushy space agency world, where they had a cost plus, where they just said, look, these were my costs, dear ESA, please give me my cost and a 10% surcharge for my profit. And this is not how it works in the commercial world. And we want to fill that gap, kind of the link to the commercial customers. That's
pretty nice. And thank you very much. So one last question before we end the question round, to also again back to Daniel. So you just wrote into the chat that you're testing engines in Sweden. Maybe you can say something about the general setup of your company. So you're based in around Munich. You're testing in Sweden. Is there, and you're pro European launch. Launch. No, I forgot the words. But maybe you can explain a little bit, exactly how your company is set up, how many people you are currently, are you hiring, and so on.
Sure. So we were founded in Munich. We now just at the beginning of the year moved our engineering and headquarters to Ottobrunn, just 10 minutes outside of Munich. Just 2 days ago, we announced also our new production facilities of about 4,500 square meters, also in Ottobrunn, where all of our engine production, for example, will happen, all the engine assembly afterwards, also complete orbital vehicle assembly. So we will actually build our first flight hardware there. And then we have 2 test sites, one within Germany, within southern Germany, where we can use, where we can test smaller systems. The full orbital rocket engines are just way too big, way too loud in order to test them at the site there, which is why we either had the possibility to go test with the German Aerospace Center, DLR, at Lampertshausen, or to look somewhere else. In the end, we were just not too happy about the bureaucracy, unfortunately, imposed also by the German Aerospace Center. It made us even go outside of Germany. But we're actually following a super aggressive timeline. And if we hate one thing, it's if we're just held back by restrictions that we cannot really control. So in that case, we found a very good partner with the Swedish Space Corporation, who is a Swedish national agency that is also running the rocket launch site S-Range, which some of you might already know, one of the world's largest suborbital rocket launch sites, as well as balloon launch sites. And one of the advantage is we cannot just do engine testing there, we can also do stage testing there. So really strapping an entire rocket stage to the test rig and firing that. In Germany, there would just be no place where we could do that, because Germany is, unfortunately, too densely populated, where you just always have at least some farmer's house just a kilometer away, whereas this would, for the rocket engine testing or stage testing, even be too less of a distance between.
Great. Yeah, I think that's because I wanted to hear the story about your farm, which you bought or rented to test one of your stages. That's pretty amazing. But I really like this European collaboration, the spirit of a European small set launcher. With this, I would like to end the question round and the panel discussion. I've seen that there's someone from Aurora Tech in the round, and and maybe they also want to launch with ESA Aerospace. So fingers crossed that you hit all your ambitious deadlines and you reach your goals as quick as possible. Again, thanks to all the presenters. I just would like to also thank the audience for staying with us. We are around 50 people right now. We were 60 people at the peak, and I think it worked astonishingly well. We have a lot of people in there, and Thomas Grübler from Aurora Tech also says that he wants to launch with ESA Aerospace. So from our small market study, we've seen 100% of all companies want to launch with ESA Aerospace.
I would want to do that as well.
Yeah, that would be already something for a consultancy slide. So cool. Thank you very much, everyone. Hope to see you soon. If you are interested in also helping us, writing an article, if you want to help to grow the European space ecosystem, then we are always happy to welcome you. We have a newsletter on our website, newspacevision.com. Sign up there. If you're interested in Earth observation and software development, then join our Earth observation company, LiveEO, from Daniel and me. And with this, I would say thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. We really are trying to make more podcasts, make more events, maybe in a digital form like this. Let us know how you liked it. Please leave a comment on our LinkedIn page, on our Twitter page, or wherever you can find us. Thank you very much, and wish you a great time, a great evening, and stay healthy. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.